Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? Edgemans and the Job coming to you guys today with another deck tech. So today we are going to be taking a look at another standard deck, and it is brought to you by abugames.com. So they provided some of the cards for this deck, so please be sure to check them out. Their link is down below. Now, the deck that we're taking a look at today is Mono Red Goblins. Now, this isn't the most rotation-friendly deck when it comes to the M12 and Scars rotation. But it is something that's fun. It's a fairly cheap deck to make. It is one of the budget builds that I'm going to be covering. It's a little bit more expensive when you start adding in some of the rares, but you can always substitute them out for other commons and uncommons. And if you guys have any questions about that, you can just shoot a comment down below and hope that either myself or somebody else replies with a substitution. So we're going to break this down and take a look at it. But before we get to that, if you guys have any suggestions for deck decks that you would like to see, please leave that in the comments down below. So the first thing that we're taking a look at, as always, is going to be the mana base, and it is incredibly straightforward. So it's 22 mountains. So I'm just going to break this off, and I'll show you just on the bottom here all of the lands that we're running, but you can take my word for it, there's 22 of them. We don't really need a whole lot of lands to get the deck running. Mainly, once you get 4 mountains into play, you're pretty set to do everything and anything. If you get like the 5th land in there, then you can start doing multiple things per turn with more costly cards, but ideally, we only need 4 lands really to make this deck function in all of its capabilities. So that's the mana base. It's just 22 lands. Now we're getting into the rest of the stuff in the deck. So we have Goblin Arsonist. So whenever it dies, you may have it deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Just a plain 1/1 for 1. Another 1-drop that you guys can include in here is Goblin Fireslinger, and also Spike Shot Elder as another 1-drop, but that's a rare and a more costly card than a common or an uncommon. So if you guys have that card, you can include it in here. If you don't, then just stick to the budget build. And at the end of the day, it's all about having fun. Next we have Goblin War Driver. So 2/2 for 2 red. It has Battle Cry, so whenever Goblin War Driver attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 until the end of the turn. So we're running a playset of the War Driver. We have Mogg Flunkies. So this was another card that was printed in M13. So it's a 3/3 for 2 mana. It can't attack or block alone, so it's going to have to either attack or block alongside another creature or creatures. But nonetheless, it's a cool card. It's a really powerful card at that, especially when you get the Goblin Chieftain out there. But nonetheless, a 3/3 for 2 mana is pretty solid for this deck. So we're running a playset that's interchangeable for how you guys like to play it and whether you have other cards and rares that you want to add in here. But playset of Mogg Flunkies, this would probably be one of those cards that I would cut like 2 of them to run other cards. But for the purpose of a budget build, we're running a playset of them. Next we have Goblin Chieftain. So this is one of the really important rares in the deck, and it's probably one of the ones where if you want to splurge on something, this is going to be the card, but I'm including it because it's pretty important. It's a 2/2 for 3/1 generic double red haste. Other goblin creatures you control get +1/+1 and have haste. So pretty powerful. Drop it turn 3 and it just starts wrecking face. So we're running a playset of Goblin Chieftain, and unfortunately it's going to be rotating with M12, but for the time being, it's still awesome to play. Then we have Krenko Mob Boss, so we're running a playset of this as well. Again, you could shave off 1 copy of it to run something else. Ideally, you don't really need to play a playset of them, but for the purpose of the deck, to be a shell for what you guys could possibly play. I'm just running a playset here. So playset of Krenko Mob Boss. So for you guys that don't know what he does, he is a 3/3 for 4 mana, 2 generic, 2 red, and he taps to put in X amount of 1/1 red goblin creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the number of goblins you control. So he is going to be able to throw out a ridiculous amount of goblins really easily. So he's one of those cards where you want to hit Goblin Chieftain and then drop Krenko Mob Boss the next turn. So we're running a playset of him. Alright, then we have Hel Rider, so 3/3 for 4 mana, 2 generic, 2 red, haste whenever a creature you control attacks. Hel Rider deals 1 damage to the defending player. So even though he's not a goblin, he is still a ridiculous card in a deck like this one. Now again, if you guys don't have this, you can switch him out for something like Goblin Fireslinger, but he's an awesome card if you have him to use in a deck like this one. I'm running 3 in this deck, and he's just really, he's incredible, especially if you can hit him turn 4 and you have a lot of other goblin creatures that can swing in by that point. So with him, you really just start racking up all of the little pings from each creature, and it just becomes really, really huge. So 3 Hel Riders, even though he's not a goblin. And now we're getting into the non-creature spells. So we have Goblin Grenade. So for 1 red, you sack a goblin in addition to its casting cost, and it deals 5 damage to target creature or player. Now, some people like to play Reverberate with that, but I don't really, I'm not really huge on that type of a shenanigan, even though it is 10 damage for 3 mana, but, yeah, I'm not really huge on that. If you guys like that, you can play it, but if not, you really don't need to. But nonetheless, we are running a playset of Goblin Grenade for the deck. Pretty awesome. It was really nice when they reprinted it for M12. We have Krenko's Command, so we're running a playset of this as well. For 1 generic and 1 red, put 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens onto the battlefield, so gives you a couple of tokens. And it could possibly make Krenko Mob Boss put out an even larger amount of them. So, running a playset of these. We have Wild Guess, so we're running 3 Wild Guess. So it's a double red as additional cost to cast Wild Guess, discard a card, and then you draw 2 cards. So it's like Sign in Blood for red. But we have to discard a card, so most of the time we're going to be discarding a mountain that we don't need. So that's the great thing about this, is you get to draw more cards and then possibly play more cards like Krenko's Command or a Goblin Grenade, or an Arsonist, or even a Fireslinger or Spike Shot Elder if you guys are including it in the deck. It lets you get a lot more things out there and just kind of really quickly pass through the deck and see what all good cards you can get out of it. Now obviously you're not going to be able to play like a 4-cost card after it, just because the deck is really greedy on the amount of mana it wants to use, but Wild Guess lets you throw out some cheap cards right after it, which is nice. So we're running 3 Wild Guess. And the last card that we have in here is Brimstone Volley, and I like this card just because with Goblin Grenade, it's nice because you're already going to be sacking something, but even if your cards are dying, you can trigger off the Morbid and deal 5 damage. But for 3 mana, it's an instant, deals 3 damage to target creature or player, and with Morbid, it deals 5 damage to that creature or player instead if a creature died this turn. So that's kind of one of those cards that I'm particular about and I really like using, but it's interchangeable with however you guys want to play. You can run Pillar of Flame instead if aggro is really huge, especially stuff like red-green aggro or zombies. Decks like that with Undying, Pillar of Flame would be good against, but it just depends on how you guys like to play, what decks you play often against, but yeah, you just kind of play it by ear with that. So that is this budget deck tech for Mono Red Goblin. So let me know what you guys think. Please be sure to give it a thumbs up if you guys enjoyed this video and would like to see more deck techs. I would greatly appreciate it. Remember to like, favorite, and subscribe for more daily Magic the Gathering content. And please be sure to check out abugames.com. Their link is down below where you guys can do so. Until next time, guys, have a wonderful, fun-filled Magic the Gathering day.